Yes, welcome back to Footy and Friends. This episode is thanks to our good mates at Carlton Draft, the official beer of the AFL. Brettles, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you, DB.
Hey.
Good to be here.
Special guest today.
I know, I'm excited.
Snooze Barlow's not here. We'll keep him awake.
Yeah.
Brown Dog, how are you, mate?
It's great to be here.
Oh, it's good to have him in.
We had a blast in the past.
Yeah.
The great Brett Deledio. So Richmond, GWS days, moved back to Melbourne.
Back to Melbourne.
There you go. So now we're hosting, you're the guest.
Yeah, well, that was, away we go.
It's good to see you, mate.
Did you ever run through him?
No,
He did correct me a couple of times.
Yeah. There's a lot of threats out there.
Yeah.
False promises, though, mate. You were definitely too quick for me, but good to see you on. Recruiter, what's your job? What's your title?
Well, we've got to talk business. I'm the recruiter. I host this, but I'm the recruiter of the Carlton Draft as well. Obviously, Brett was keen to get involved this year. He'd been in my ear, and he wasn't we wanted to get one of the best, quickest, most skillful players out of the game to come and play in the Carlton Draft.
Yeah.
And, we couldn't get Dusty.
Yes.
We couldn't get
I'm not sure
anyone else.
Was our budget big enough for
Nah,
Dusty?
so we ended up with Brett. But we're wrapped. We're
Pint
wrapped,
of Coke,
and it's going to be good.
Pint of Coke and a slab of Carlton Dry, and away we go.
We need players that are fit and healthy and can actually make a contribution to the local footy club, don't we? Because we've had probably fair to say a few disappointments over the last few years. That's why I brought Dyl on as a full-timer now. I found my role is just getting too big for me as the commissioner. So, and some of my decisions with my picks in the draft have been questionable at best.
Yeah. Who's your worst pick, do you reckon?
Kane Corns,
Yeah.
comfortably. Kane Corns goes out there fit and healthy. He's been running marathons, has 6 disposals. Now, this club hasn't won for 2 years. My best, Bernie Vince.
Yeah.
Bernie Vince.
He had 9 goals, 8 or something, didn't he?
Yeah, and had 35 touches. I think Maryborough away.
Maryborough Rovers, it was.
Yeah, Dale Thomas was very good. He got the
Yeah.
Nil Tigers over the line. Nathan Buckley lasted 5 minutes before he tore his hamstring, groin and calf. How do you do that all in the first few minutes?
I think the worst would have to be Leigh Matthews. That was bad last
that
year.
was
He went
bad.
down for the big game. From all reports, apparently, they were nearly passing up the opportunity in the end. I think they were saying, don't worry about it. And contractually, it had to be done.
Right.
And he got out there and tore his quad in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I was talking to him most Sundays. We do radio. He's Triple M, obviously, and I'm on the ABC. So I see him every Sunday. And I was like, how you feeling? Because I'd been speaking to him about how he went at Tura. And he was, he's like, oh, mate, I'm a bit nervous. I said, mate, just do the work. Because I played a couple of games last year. I said, just do the work. Sure enough, didn't do the work, pin quad gone.
Well, Bucks was panicking the whole way up because Bucks was the big signing. Now, in fairness to him, though, he hadn't played for the best part of 15 years.
Yeah.
I think maybe 07 prelim final or 08 prelim might have been his last game. So
07.
Obviously, it was 07, was it? There you go.
Yeah.
Narrow defeat by the Cats, I think it was.
5 points.
5 points. Jeez, there he is.
It's a famous game.
It's a famous game.
He's like Dickie Nee. He said I can see his face.
It's concerning.
But Bucks kept saying to me, he keeps doing his calf. I said, mate, you've got to get some work in. Anyway, we went up to Nil Madana. I took a busload of punters up there. And fair to say the bus trip home was a little bit loose. But anyway, we got there and I went up to Bucks in the warm-up. I said, how are you travelling? He goes, mate, I've torn my groin. I said, how do you tear your groin in a warm-up? And then obviously he's got his calf, he's got his groin, and then he leads out. First lead, we're all on the hill, the bus load of us. There was a good crowd there at Nil Madanum. The only problem was it was about 3 degrees. And then bang, he pings his hamstring. And a tendon injury as well.
Oh, really?
But in fairness to him, the great man, he went out there and coached. He coached for the rest of the day, which they absolutely loved.
Yeah.
They hadn't won a game in 2.5 years. They got beaten by a point.
Oh, wow.
So it was a great day, but another disappointment from my players.
What happened to Cornsey? Was he just, I'm interested in this.
He's just no good.
Was there a turtle? I think there was a bit of a
there's
turtle.
a bit
He
of
got
turtle.
bashed up a bit though, didn't
He
he?
got bashed, absolutely. And but the problem is I don't want to get taggers. Cornsey was a tagger, wasn't he? But then all of a sudden he's got to go and find his own pill. And guess what? He couldn't find it, even out in the country league. He got plenty of feedback over the fence.
What about this bloke? Have you given him any feedback? Because we've given him plenty.
I thought I had a good first half and then just seized up after that. But it was
You're a bit like Nick Dacos.
Yeah,
Before
I'd
half-time,
ran out of steam a little
ran
bit.
out of pickle juice, mate.
Yeah, I did. But mate, I still say to this day, incredible opportunity, like local footy clubs, and I think it's definitely still open. Get on the carltondraft.com.au and sign your club up because it is one of the all-time days. And we have a lot of fun, but what it does for the community out there is actually special. We sat around and had many of Carlton tries and Carlton drafts after it. and far out some memories there for a lifetime. So make sure you get down.
We can't get to every game, can we, as the commissioner and chief recruiter? But we need to probably look at doing a big function at one of the clubs this year. So we should take
maybe
it on the road.
Maybe Brett's team. That he
go to my team. Get everyone there. That'd be good. Heaps of pressure.
I think Sausage Mumford played last year, didn't he?
He did for Bunyip.
Bunyip,
with Izzy.
Yeah, that would have been a good team.
That still would have been a good sausage sizzle on the day.
Bloody hell. So get to carltondraft.com.au. You can still sign your team up, and we'll look into it. The commission and the recruiter will make sure it happens. Did you watch the footy on the weekend?
I did. Well, it's funny because we had a blackout, so I live on the Gold Coast. So we've been through
how's Alfred going?
Cyclone Alfred.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, it's bringing up a few nasties. I had to ring young Jack. It was funny. So I saw on Facebook last night. So where I live on Tullabudgera Creek, a fantastic place to live. So the kids are obviously out there. My young bloke's a tinny rat.
Yeah.
So he's all excited. He's back out in his tinny last night. And so I had to ring him just before we aired on the couch. I said, mate, I just saw a Facebook page. There's bull sharks about 100 metres from our joint. So all the bull sharks have been washed out. So hopefully one of my kids hasn't been grabbed last night. But it was well, actually, my wife probably hopes because just less than a load. But no, it was like lockdown. We lost our power. So it was like lockdown without power.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the footy on Friday night, but saw the footy on Sunday. How good was GWS?
John was humming.
I was slick.
How good was it Finn Callahan coming out after that 17 mil off over whatever years? And
quick
did
is
that?
he?
Yeah.
I didn't realise how quick he looked powerful.
Amazing. Yeah, it wasn't that a flex by Finn Callahan. If you don't know about me, you know about me now in the AFL world, because I don't think the greater footy world would have known about him, apart from reading what St Kilda offered him.
Yeah, unless you're avid. And if you're an avid supporter and you actually really dive into it, this kid's on the way up, don't you? But
absolutely.
He's just come out and gone, yep, here I am.
I've got a lot of respect for him. I do a bit of work with GWS, or I do a bit of work with the charity epidermolysis bullosa, which is horrible skin condition. I'm the ambassador here in Australia, and we've hooked up with GWS. And last year they did an EB game against Fremantle, and
big patch on the shorts.
Yeah, absolutely, big patch on the shorts. One of their donors, gave best part of $250,000 to put that patch on the shorts to the charity. It's amazing, isn't it? So Mark Seidner, who's on the board there at GWS, a fantastic thing to do. But on the day I took my daughter to live there and met Finn Callahan. And what a lovely fella. He's been there 15 times.
Bit of a rooster too.
Yeah, he's a rooster, absolutely. So no wonder Liv Liv's 15 years old. She gravitated straight to Finn. But what a lovely fella. Liv loves the footy, and he couldn't give him more time. This is just before the game. So he's a star.
Real good dude.
Yeah.
The way that it's the season started as well is fascinating. Some of the 2 games on the weekend, but even Hawthorn firing up as well is going to be a massive start to the year, which I'm sure.
I'm interested in Brownie's thoughts on this because the opening round, obviously you played all your footy up north, and you know how important it is to bring the games up north. Your thoughts on opening round and where I heard Vossi's thoughts on it all, and I know he's central down here in Melbourne now, but he's like, well, why don't we just do it all over Australia and just have all the Melbourne teams get out of Melbourne, maybe one marquee game here. I didn't mind that idea versus just purely up there for the start of the year. Maybe we could do it over the bye rounds. Everyone just goes up there, the holidays, tourism, everyone goes up. Maybe that's a better way to do it. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with this. It was... I think it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, does it? I think you can certainly have the 2 games in Queensland, 2 in New South Wales, and then you have 1 in the other states, and whatever's left over in Melbourne. You're going to have your big blockbuster. Yesterday was a public holiday in Melbourne. That public holiday game or a Sunday night game before the public holiday has become a real winner, hasn't it? So, you'd fill the MCG, but also promote it in the northern states. I think, with the weather still being a bit dicey this time of the year, the best time of the year is in the middle of the year. Like you said, have that northern round would be fantastic. You have your 2 Sydney games and your 2 Queensland games. If you want to have a Darwin game, you could have that as well. But, as part of the split round, you have your 4 games that weekend and your other 5 games the other weekend. School holidays, everyone wants to get up there in the winter, don't you? You want to escape the southern states, get out of the cold and really celebrate footy up there and put the big clubs on, obviously to play the the northern state teams.
Well, that's what you need. You need buy-in from the big clubs to go up there to actually promote it because they've got the followings, haven't they?
But they love it because they use an opportunity to get away. I know Geelong have done the week-long camps. Last year, Collingwood went up there and spent a few days. When Collingwood played Gold Coast, I called that game in the school holidays last year. It was a full house. It was fantastic. A lot of Victorians up there. A lot of people travelled up. So I think that might be a better way of doing it, no question about it, because to me, it looks like the NRL's opening in Vegas. It's like a unifying thing. Not that every team gets to go over there, but it unifies the code, and then they start back locally the following week. Whereas, I don't know, Gather Round seems to have been a divisive topic. A divisive topic in that in our competition, doesn't it?
I don't care much for it. Either it stays or it goes. It doesn't. I feel like it takes the fizz out of the game a little bit. But I agree. I like it. I like going up there at some stage. Yeah,
it's rather than just be like, bang, here we are, the AFL, we're back on. It's like, drip feed you a couple.
It brought back memories, though, opening round for me. 2000, one of my great memories. I got to play against the great Tony Lockett. 2002, remember Tony Lockett made a comeback. And
that's right.
He had I don't know, maybe 2-3 years out of the game, and he lost all that weight. I don't know, he's running marathons, and he came back. We played Sydney, round 1, 2002 at the SCG, so we were defending the Premiership from the year before we won, and played against the great Tony Lockett.
What did he give you, the big TL?
Not much. He got a corky early. So I wanted to go in and get a bloody selfie with him or an autograph back in those. There was no selfies back in those days, but he got a corky that day, and I don't think he finished the game. So may have been ill-advised to make the comeback, but yes, I did share the field with the great Tony Lockett. So
who else is like? I love talking about that, like when blokes start their career right at the start, and then you're on the back end of someone else's. Give us like who else you've played with back in the day.
I played against Wayne Carey, who was my idol growing up. The Duck.
Yeah, he's not a massive fan of this show, the Duck.
Oh, isn't he? Is that right?
Nah.
You've given a few over there.
I think I gave him.
Is it Dylan Buckley or Dylan and Friends, or is it the Footy and Friends that he doesn't like? Which one?
I think it's just me in general.
Yeah.
I don't want to be when Gorringe was involved.
I think it was. Yeah. He wasn't. He didn't like it. You took the jokes well. He didn't take them as well.
Yeah. I remember as a kid growing up, because Dad was still coaching back home in the country, growing up around Warrnambool, and so Friday night footy was the only chance you could watch live AFL footy, and they owned it, didn't they? So as a budding young key position forward, Dad had taken me to the footy, and so just sit there and just watch what Carey does, watch what number 18 does. It was a great education. But yeah, met him a couple of times and got to share the field with him on one occasion. And Michael Voss still talks about it. Michael Voss is one of the toughest men that's ever laced a boot, no question about it. They feared no one, but he did say that Wayne Carey is one bloke that he was like that. He's like one of those bull sharks in the creek down the road from my joint. He said you always knew where he was. He said, always in the back of your mind. He's like a shark circling. He just had that aura and that presence about him.
Fuck, he's
a bit like you, Dyl.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's funny before we were saying how we played. Link's got some stats actually of the last games. Jump in, Link, when we get it. But I do remember one game, and it must have been this one that I played against Brownie. I was always sort of picking up the loose man on the field. So, like, for example, I'd try and take a dangerous forward, and then Simo and Doc would try and run off, get all the possessions, and I'd have to pick up their men. So if they kick goals, it was my fault.
You're Sean Hart.
Yeah, exactly. And one day I felt, I'm very similar to you. One day
minus the Norm Smith medal.
Minus the Normie. That's not my fault, though. And I was sitting in the middle, and I remember at the Gabba, and I was like almost playing this +1 role, which I was never comfortable playing. And I was sitting in front of Brownie. And I knew he was behind me. It was a bit like the Wayne Carey thing. I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. And I just heard him go, I wouldn't stand there, mate. I was like, fuck, like, I do not want to be standing here, mate. And lo we hold, I think Jacob Wiedering actually came back and took the position, and you just absolutely ran straight through him. I would have died. I would have literally died. But
it must have been your go-to, though, because I reckon you said that to me too when
I
was trying to jump.
Especially as I was getting older and slower. And, geez, a bit of low-hanging fruit picking up Dyl.
I didn't even have pubes.
Dyl's about half my weight, but...
Mozzies are bad today.
Remember I used to play did you play with Satana Helper?
Yeah. Oh, no, we only had 1 year crossover.
Yeah, Satana played on, man. He's just full of yap the whole time.
Trying to talk?
I'm going, who are you? I can't understand you for starters. But... he terrorised me. Remember he kicked, was it Cameron Cloak in the arse
in the gooch, I think it was.
One of the great bits of footage. But it's great when you see your idols in it. Like, I remember I was in the Victorian Junior Footy Academy as a year 6 or year 7. There was this thing that at Victoria Junior Footy Academy, and Alistair Clarkson was the coach when he was still playing for North Melbourne, and they used to bring you down once a month, all the country kids, and we'd have a night. They'd put us up in camp, and then you'd have a training session, and Alistair Clarkson was the coach, and he used to get all these North Melbourne teammates down there, and how's this for a day? We had training and sort of like interest sort of squad game that morning, and Wayne Carey was one of our coaches. So the Duck in his prime, about 93, 94, just he's starting to rise. And then that night, so he came down, took us, and then that night we went and watched the Western Bulldogs versus Geelong when Billy Brownless kicked the goal after the siren.
Wow.
I was sitting beside Alistair Clarkson there as a 13-year-old. So just memories, things like that you just remember. You go, geez, that's what dreams are made of as a kid.
Man, I get fascinated. You know, I'm lucky enough to have been a small part of a system, and even chatting to coaches and that now, like how small the system is, like how many times people have crossed over at junior level, other clubs. Like it's a very small world.
Yeah, it is. It really is when you get into those footy ranks. And I suppose as you started getting those elite squads as we all come through, and you boys are probably more the suburban. Well, you're a country boy. You're a country boy, were you? I
Don't throw me into the
city boy. Geez.
Although my brother was attacking me on the weekend because you've spent more time in the city now than you have in the country.
Yeah.
He goes, you are fully cityfied, which I'm dirty about.
You know what else, boys? How fucking hot is it in here? Or is it
You-
I've
you're
run
up.
8Ks this
Maybe
morning.
for a run.
I've literally still perspirating. Brownie and I this morning, we've actually linked up already. We're at Salt Movement Centre.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
The preparation, mate. You know, it's a big podcast.
Did you get to the gym this morning?
Nah, yesterday. Yeah, one on, one off.
Interesting.
Well, it doesn't mean you don't have to. You got to go every day, mate. Every day.
I'd like to, but I've got to share the time with my wife. And
Yeah, it's
when
fair
I've
enough.
been rolled in here,
Well, that's why I spend
Sparrow
3 or 4 days a week down in Victoria on my own. It's
so you get
fantastic.
gym time. Yeah,
It's great.
exactly.
People say, geez, how do you do it? I go, what do you mean, how do I do it? I've got 3 kids at home. It's great for the marriage. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So you get on the road.
that's it.
Lethal.
Lethal, yeah, one of the greats. We've signed him up at Fox Footy. The great Leigh Matthews.
Was Lee doing was he doing the rap the other day? I noticed you didn't get put into the.
No, I think I was.
Were you in
rap,
it?
But apparently
I don't think you were rapping too much.
apparently
so.
it's been pulled.
It's been. Who do you reckon pulled it? Who do you reckon
I'm
pulled
not
it?
sure because
Who's the biggest dog there? Gaz?
Gaz got into it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Gaz
got
did.
in- and Bucks. I think Bucks might have got sold a pup. And
I've never
what's
sweated.
wrong with you?
Mate, I've never sweated this much in my life. Is it really? Can we open the door or put the aircon on, Matt?
She's speaking of
What?
Gary because Gary has a real problem with this because
Does he?
they have to pump the aircons up full tilt because
Mate,
Gary
he-
sweats his ass.
he's
off
a
in
heavy
the
sweater
Fox
too.
Footy. He's a heavy sweater.
I'm not a sweater. This is. I think it's just the
you're not
first
standing
run
in the
I've
hole.
ever
You're not
done.
standing in the hole in front of me anymore,
No.
mate.
Well, Matt's got it on 20 fucking 8. I think that's what.
The room temperature.
Oh, okay, go.
No
Yeah,
wonder
there
it's
we go.
going
There
on
we
here.
go. That's better. Yeah, give us your best Leigh Matthews
Well,
story.
he's great. So we're going to use him on the couch from time to time. But a great day. He's the doyen of footy, isn't he? And such a practical man. He everyone would have heard the story about he was voted the greatest player of all time, and obviously he just won his 4th premiership as a coach. And we're in the elevator on the way up to the after-match
I know
function.
where this is going.
Yeah, and Justin Lepage too. Leper's a bit of a smart ass.
He
He
is.
made Leper as assistant, one of my great mates, Frank the Tank. His alter ego, we call him after he's had a few beers, the old school character.
Don't see it much anymore.
No, you don't see it. He's pretty straight now. But in the elevator, there was a few of us in there, and he said to Leigh, geez, Leigh, where would you be without us? And Leigh goes, yeah, no, you're right, Leper. And because Leigh had 3 or 4 crownies. He doesn't normally drink much, Leigh, but he had 3 or 4 crownies, so he's loosened up. I thought, Jesus, bit of silence. He never say that to the great man. And the great man just turned to him and goes, yeah, you're right, Lep. Without you, boys, all it'd be is the greatest player of all time. So he knew exactly. And then another one in a match committee where we start to go as captain. I'm not sure they still do it these days. You go to match committee, team selection. So it was boring. As
Bring
batshit.
everyone in.
Like the captains
the
go,
captain
or-
wouldn't. No, I don't think the captain's involved.
Yeah, well,
I don't think.
I used to go along, and you sort of get bored because you go around and you talk about the 22nd, 23rd man, wouldn't you, for about 2 hours. So you get bored shitless, and you'd run out, you get sick of looking at the magnet board. So next minute a topic you come up, okay, boys, what's your greatest game? So it goes around the table. Gary O'Donnell was there. Gaz might have had 48. Craig Lambert was assistant coach. I think Lambos might have had 50 with about 43 handballs at one stage because he couldn't kick Lambos. Scotty McIver was there. So all these boys, Magic McLean, all these boys in the 40s, and they got around to Leigh. Said to Leigh, what was your greatest game? He goes, no, I can't match that, boys. 31 to Spurs, the best. And so boys just pile it in. He goes, that shit house, you call yourself the greatest player of all time. He goes, yeah, I'll kick 13, but.
He's just loaded. He's got how many bullets?
He's loaded, absolutely. So hard to top the great man. He was the alpha of all the alpha males.
Fucking it, mate. He's got that aura about him, Leigh, that you just don't want to be in his path whatsoever. There's a few blokes too, like when coming through, I was from the inner city, I played for Fitzroy, and we had like the Brisbane patch on our jumper. So every year, like 2000s to that major Magic period. And I was just obsessed with all the players. I used to wear 20 for Simon Black.
Yeah, how good's Blackie? He was on the front bar the other night.
Was he?
Yeah.
One of the all-time blokes.
Oh,
Just
mate, one of the all-timers.
Absolute star. But there's always guys as well that I wanted to know more about because you don't really see him. Like Clark Keating. What was Clark Keating like?
Well, he's a great man, Crackers, and geez, he played well in September, didn't he? He was magnificent.
His shoulder would come out all the time.
Yeah, funnily enough, he had to ruck all day in 2002. We nearly lost that grand final. We were hot favourites against Collingwood, and Bo McDonald went into the game under an injury cloud with his shoulder and popped his shoulder
That's it,
5 minutes in. So very wet, heavy deck, and Crackers had to ruck all day. It was an amazing performance. And he did that, in 01, 03 as well. He loves a cigar, loves a red wine, but I remember, and going back to the Leigh Matthews stories, you sort of go through every different stage of a footy club season. It'll come up where, one of the boys will be out mucking around, having a good time, and all of a sudden the coach will make a stand and say, righto, boys, what are we doing with alcohol? 6-day breaks, shouldn't be having breaks. 7-day breaks, you can maybe have a few beers. 8-day breaks, well, that might be the time to just let the hair down a little bit. So he'd say let the hair down from time to time, and that was a green light just to not come home for about 3 days, especially in Pikey's case. But Leigh thought, we'll just get the bit of buy-in from the boys, and we were a pretty loose crew in Brisbane in the early days. We trained hard, but geez, we played hard, no question about it. And you're out of the glare.
Up there?
No one knew. You're out of the glare, so you get away with a bit up there. And boys, but, just old school fun. And Leigh said, righto, boys, what's a big night? What's a big night? Let's just go through some of our expectations around alcohol. And so everyone's looking around thinking, fuck, I don't want to answer this one. So Timmy Notting, one of my great mates, Possum, and he could go, and Martin Pike, and all the boys, they go right. And anyway, so no one had put their hand up. No one had offer up what a big night was in terms of drinks. So Leigh goes, well, clearly none of you blokes want to answer this question. So he says he goes, right, I'm just going to pick someone out. Crackers, which is Clark Keating. Crackers, what's a big night? And Crackers, don't worry, he enjoys a few. So you're sort of thinking, what's he going to say? How's he going to say the right amount?
If you say it too, and not enough.
Not enough. So we're thinking, so Crackers goes out of the corner of his mouth, 12 pots? And just to see the reaction now, 12 pots, that's the warm-up. Like, obviously, that's like doing a bloody warm-up lap for Crackers and most of the boys at that stage. And then there was dead silence, and Leigh goes, what? If I had 12 pots, I'd be dead on the floor. Oh, it was magnificent. Jesus Christ. Thank God he didn't tell the truth. But so anyway, we had a laugh about that, but Leigh's reaction was just gold. It was absolute gold. So, but Clark Keating, one of the great men and very underrated player because he was injured for a lot of his career.
Mel Michael,
loves hedges. He's got a great hedge collection around. In Melbourne, he had a lot of hedges.
Where do you live
hedges?
now?
Like what? He puts big hedges up.
It's a bit of an in-joke. Okay. I think footy fans will work that out.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues with hedges back in the day around Melbourne.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
But he had nice
around
hedges.
2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah. No, he was what a great player he was.
I heard a good story about it. I did a night with Paul Lucuria and Lepper at the recall in the grand final. Might have been 2002 actually, I think it was. And they were telling a story about how Mel Michael, because he was at the Pies before the Flags.
That's right.
And he got traded for someone.
For Jared Malloy.
And I think every year he'd give Jared Malloy a call just thanking him for the trade.
Well, you sent him a message, Mad Monday. Thanks for that. So Molly, I played with Molly first year, 2000, and him and Mel crossed over, straight swap. And Mel was a fantastic player for us, but he might have sent a message to Molly, a message or two to Molly over there during those 3 years. And it was hard for Molly because he ended up playing, we played him in 02 and 03 and beat him. So it was a bitter pill to swallow for him, but what a player he was. He was amazing. He was so strong, obviously Papua New Guinea heritage. His mum was from Papua New Guinea. And he was an amazing player, really powerful, great punch. He used to smash the ball back 30 metres. So along with Darryl White and Justin Lepage, geez, they formed a great combination.
Darryl White, man. Jeez,
how good was White? I had to play Whitey at training. He had Inspector Gadget arms.
He seemed like a very quiet guy. Was he quiet?
Yeah, no, he was another bloke. You get a couple of beers in him, he'd always try and kiss you. Whitey, so give you a big pash. Yeah, so
it was like he was spending the time down in Nimbin, like very mellow. And,
absolutely. Yeah, he's one of those. He spent a lot of time. Well, he grew up around the Northern Territory, and early days the boys tell a story about him. When he'd come down for pre-season, the Brisbane Bears, and Robert Walls was coach, and then Whitey wouldn't turn up for pre-season, and they'd have to go and get him. But what an amazing player! Played nearly 300 games.
Unbelievable.
Took about 50 marks of the week as well.
Oh yeah,
he was amazing.
He was your markers up. Bloke, what?
He was amazing. He'd do that at trainers, and when he'd have the odd time he'd have a shot at goal, he had this. His kicking technique, just the knack of just sort of sitting on the goal umpire's head. He'd just kick it far enough that it just kicked across the line. So
the amount of characters from that time, though, I still think like Jared, even Jared Brennan to later on, Ackermanis, Pike,
Bushy Copeland.
Jared Brennan burst on the scene. Do you remember him? He was the next Darryl White. Yeah, he might have kicked a few goals against Collingwood on debut. Big game, Easter Thursday game. It was amazing. And then, as all young blokes do, they quickly get found out. Well, I think we played at Geelong a couple of weeks later. It's freezing cold, and a boy from the Northern Territory is not going to cope with those conditions. So halfway through the third quarter, Jared Brennan comes off for his rotation. He's had enough. He took his boots and his socks off. He's sitting down on the ground. Leigh Matthews sent the message, would you tell Jared Brennan to put his boots and his socks back on?
Well,
yeah, halfway through the third quarter, he was done. He was too cold. Too cold. So, but he could play. But he had those expectations, probably unfairly about.
Pick 3, was he?
Yeah, I think he might have been that he was going to be the next Darryl White. And they're hard expectations to live up to. Like Whitey's a Hall of Fame calibre player, so yeah.
The amazing thing about Brisbane is obviously that time, but then I'd love to talk about 2008, 9 onwards when things started to change a bit. Like Vossy goes from your captain and, I'm sure like a very good friend to then being a coach.
Yeah.
The big one as well for me was Bradshaw goes from Brisbane to Swans. Feve comes in. Black was sort of on the way out as well. What was that time like after such a dominant period to then have your mate have to make these hard calls? Must have been challenging.
Started the year well when all those boys come in.
That's right.
You were flying.
You were flying. I think we were 4 and zip. And, there's a lot of excitement around when Feve turned up. The journos loved it. Absolutely. I've never seen so many cameras at training.
Amon Buchanan.
Rainsy was there. Brett Staker and Matty Maguire. So we had these 5 guys. I think at the end we made the finals in 2009 with a very young team. And we actually won a final against Carlton. I'm not sure were you playing, Dyl?
Definitely not.
And
you weren't filling the hole that day.
Nah.
And we shouldn't have won, but Bradshaw lit him up in late in the quarter. I think we might have been 5 goals down at 3/4 time. Anyway, we weren't as close as what they thought. Probably got a bit excited with that win.
Yeah.
And then
topped up.
Yeah, topped up. Yeah, they decided to go and get all these veterans and think, we just put a bit of a push and it's gettable to win the flag. And unfortunately, it backfired. And obviously, Feve was the headliner. It was a shame because Feve was a great player, but his life was in turmoil at that stage. And he'd obviously well documented his issues with the punt at that stage. And then Alex took the family home, took the girls back to Melbourne, and so he was sort of left to his own devices there. And he found it really hard to hold himself together and be a professional athlete at that stage of his career. So it was one and done at Brisbane. He only lasted a year there. And it was a sad end, really. I'm glad he's got back on his feet.
Certainly has.
Yeah, he's flying now, isn't he? Which is great to see. But it was certainly a difficult 12 months for him in Brisbane. And it was. I remember when the family. I think the family were going to leave. He had journos on his lawn.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it, honestly. Yeah. And we played in the premierships. We'd had the odd scandal, but nothing like that. It was amazing. Kylie, my wife Kylie and myself just lived around the corner from Alex and Feve. And one stage, I think Kylie had to take some food around or take some groceries around there.
Couldn't get out of the house.
Just because they couldn't get in and out of the house. So, yeah, it was really, really challenging. But unfortunately, that was tough on Vossy as well because obviously that really made it difficult then for Vossy to recover because he went all in only his second year. And it made it really tough. You're really fighting a losing battle from that point on because the list,
if it doesn't work,
it doesn't work. That's right. The list really had to rebuild, and Vossy ran out of time. So that was a shame. I'm glad Vossy got another crack at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a difficult relationship when you changed over?
Not really. Vossy and myself have always been great mates, so we've been able to hold our friendship together. I was a big supporter of Vossy. It was just circumstances the way it worked. I thought he was unfairly dismissed. I thought they should have kept going, but look, at the end of the day, Vossy would say that he needed more experience before coming in the coach's box. But all the same, in his first year, we won a final as coach. So, but there was mistakes made along the way, with the playing list, with different personnel supporting the club, and Vossy would talk about that often. When he's asked about it now. So he would have learned a hell of a lot, and he's been able to put that in practice at Carlton. I think he's done a really good job at the Blues. So, it was a difficult period. Challenging because two of your best mates who you played at enormous team success with, Vossy and Leper, end up being your coach. So that's tricky. That's tricky because you are, and I was a captain as well. So you've got to be very respectful of their position. Obviously, we laugh about Frank the Tank, but even early days, I caught myself calling Leper Frank, and I live with, Leper's sister Nikki's like my older sister. I lived with Nikki the first 2 or 3 years. Leper was my first landlord. So, he used to overcharge me too. He's a prick. But you're playing under him all of a sudden. So you've got to have that respectful relationship. So I quickly dropped Frank the Tank because I thought,
Justin.
It's Justin.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was challenging, no question about it.
What about you, mate? When do you reckon it was your best footy? When were you most at your comfortable?
I was probably 04 through to about 09, 10. It was... It was. I think 04. I had a few suspensions, which is a shame because we only lost. We didn't miss top spot by much, by percentage. It might have been a couple of goals if you go through and check the records. My little mate over here, he's got. He's just going to check.
Was that Cope Mundale era, or was it? Would you moved on from the
Copers? Yeah, that's right. I used to love the Copers. 2001, the Mundales. They were magnificent boots. So I'd love to know where they've ended up. I wore them in 2001, the grand final against the Bombers.
Did you wear the white with the black or black with the white?
But they didn't make them in the white.
Are you talking about the actual Cope Mundales, the World Cup?
That's right. Your old man would have used them colour. I think all the Carlton boys had them back in those days.
The World Cup with the screwies, though, weren't they?
World Cup with the screwies. Sticks Kernan used to love the World Cup. Sticks used to tell me about that.
Missed out on top spot by a game. And was that the year that you had to play a prelim?
Yes.
Home prelim at the MCG?
That's right, exactly. So,
that's a bit of corruption there,
and I think I missed 6 or 8 games through suspension that year, and I was playing really good footy. So you sort of look at that sometimes and think, geez, I let the team down. We only needed another win, and we would have got top spot and wouldn't have had to play one less trouble. And that was a game, terrible, a lot of injuries that game. Even though we won, we come back the week after and we just too banged up to knock over Port Adelaide to win 4 in a row, which would have been an amazing effort. But that was, I suppose that's when you start to mature as a footballer, Dyl, and you start to feel comfortable you can go out there and dominate games.
Hey, Brandon, before we get into your bit about yourself and really start firing up, we've got a little segment here, Embrace the Mid. We love the mids here. You a mid man or a full strength?
Absolutely, love it. Yeah, in the northern states, everyone drinks mids.
Yeah. especially when
Certainly
it's hot.
do. I love it.
Well, I think
you go
it's-
away up hunting. It's nice and hot. You just
Yeah,
get
but up hunting there, Brett.
I love hunting up north. Yeah.
Right, there you go.
Well, that's what country boys do. You know, we
That's
get up there
right.
and shoot a few feral pigs.
Just
Isn't he?
reminding you of
He's
us,
trying,
country
he's
boy.
trying to remember.
Trying to, yeah.
All season, we're embracing the mid thanks to Carlton Draft 3.5%, the official beer of the AFL.
Yeah.
Now, this week, embracing the mid is you've obviously got your stars and you've got your massive moments in the AFL. But then there's also those players or something that could have happened throughout the week that doesn't get the recognition that it deserves.
Let's just put a little bit of a spotlight on these boys.
For not getting it.
Yeah.
Or anything. What have you got for us?
I've gone with the game on Friday night, the Hawthorn Swans game. And this guy, I reckon he's starting to... We talk about the stars. Will Day, obviously, my boy, who was
He
unbelievable.
called a Brownlow last week.
Him and Finn Callahan.
Far out.
Yeah. But someone who plays in that midfield who just does a little minder sort of job, Connor Nash. I love what he's doing at the moment. He's a big boy, 195, I reckon. Irishman who can run all day, but played on Isaac Heaney and just sort of quelled his influence a bit, I reckon. And he's doing that with some big mids, or big name mids, just being able to go both ways, but win his own footy as well. Kicked the goal, had 20 himself, so to go along with 5 tackles. So he's my embrace the mid this week.
Yeah, he's
Carlton
tough boy
Draft.
too, isn't he? Yeah, that's a good one. Because he's one of those tough midfielders, though. Will Day. We spoke about
Newcombe.
Warple, Newcombe. You know, they've got a premiership midfield just because of their toughness.
Sam Mitchell pod out today. I actually had him on last week, so that's out today. I sat down with him, and I think you look at those teams and their confidence they sort of take into teams. Yeah, fuck it, they're going to get ahead of himself this year. You feel like he's just got them. You feel like he's got them in like the exact position they need to be.
Yeah, I think probably similar to what Leigh did with us. You know, because they've had that benefit as players. They've lived it, the having to repeat. Yeah, or not letting teams get ahead of themselves. Mitch has lived that. He's played in a team that's won 3 in a row. He's also played in a team that's
Won and then
a premiership hangover.
Yeah.
So he knows what that looks like. So he would have been absolutely onto that playing group right from the first day of pre-season, and to get him switched back into this new campaign because the whole footy world's waiting for Hawks to fall off the perch.
Yeah.
You know, because they were the young guns, weren't they? You know, on their way
They're
out.
brash with the
Well, you love
selfies.
them and then you hate them when they become good.
Absolutely. So, but Mitch would have done a hell of a lot of work on that.
I'm going to go with Sam Wicks this week for my embrace the mid.
Ah, you've stole my man.
Was that yours?
Yeah,
I
it
think.
was
Well,
good.
I've got a funny story about Sam Wicks because he, back in the day, I think it must have been his first year, I was playing in the NEFL down at Blacktown, and something happened, but his old man he yelled at me for about 45 minutes.
Really?
It got that awkward. So I've sort of hated him, but now I'm actually back on him.
What was he yelling at you? Were you
Don't know.
dominating him? Or
No, I don't think
wasn't
so.
during the
You
Carlton
would've been.
Draft, was
There
he?
wasn't
Would've
during the Carlton Draft. No, something weird happened. But his shutdown role on
Nick Watson.
Nick Watson on the
wizard.
weekend, who, very, very good player. It shows that lockdown still. We haven't really seen it a lot these days. Like,
Well, Backman on a forward, it's
Yeah.
not really that abnormal, is it?
But it was a role, wasn't it? Like, it was out there. It was a pretty much full
It wasn't.
shutdown role.
It wasn't a team defense type
No.
role where you roll.
He was going
off
to
and-
him. Yeah.
which is what a back pocket should do. But
You're right. Yeah, but it doesn't, like, these days, a lot of it's just attack, really, isn't it?
yeah,
There's Jed Hughes and that's about it.
Yeah,
I really like that move. It's they've gone with McCartan down the other end, and which I think they need to do, and they'll stick with that. I'd be surprised if Logan McDonald goes back when he comes back into the team. But I really like the move of Sam Wicks. Yeah, no question about that.
Question before you think about yours. I was going to say, we make jokes on this show a fair bit about the Sydney 3 tall. So Marty, McDonald and McLean.
Yeah.
What would you say to those 3 boys? Like, because you just don't they just need it.
Yeah, well, I think McDonald, if he goes back, and then McCartan stays forward, because McCartan's the competitor. He's got a great tank. He charges around the field as a forward, gives plenty of options. So I think that's their way forward they need to stick with. I think McLean's a good competitor. He can back up in the ruck. Grundy's got a lift. Grundy was disappointing. He's well beaten by Lloyd Meek. I think the whole midfield needs to lift. I think the whole midfield needs to toughen up a bit, to be honest. I think Brisbane exposed that in the grand final, didn't they? They were out-toughed. And I think they've been out-toughed now by Hawthorn. They've been out-toughed by a few teams. So now that's not the Bloods culture that we've come to know.
Oh, yeah.
Errol Goulden's a big loss, no question about it, but you just feel like, the boys just got to show a bit more starch.
Does that make you more or less nervous about Chad Warner at the end of the year? And just put into it just that performance and where they.
Well, it's obviously going to be a year-long thing, or certainly the first half of the year. They wouldn't want to lose the first few though. Dean Cox will give a great perspective to Chad Warner though, if they did get in those discussions. Because one thing Chad Warner's got to be conscious of, I think, that you're leaving Sydney and you've lived there, Dids, compared to playing for the biggest club, playing for West Coast, living in Perth. There's a hell of a lot of difference when it comes to walking around the street.
He strikes me as the guy that would enjoy that.
No, I find he might enjoy it, but is it best for him? I don't know. Like, you look at what happened with Luke Jackson. I feel like those two are similar sort of characters without knowing them both, very well.
You don't know until what happens, though, do you? So
no, exactly.
Chad Warner will be just behind Harley Reid in terms of Hollywood superstars if he goes back to Perth. So
get on the blower to Harley and see, what's it actually like?
What's it actually like? You can't leave your house. So, that's an interesting one. I like the GWS boys. Obviously, he's not a lesser light, but it was great to see for me Sam Taylor come back to his best. I think
He's
Sam
a
Taylor
glove.
was, last year, obviously, he was knocked around with the concussions and some injuries, and there was question marks. Can he get back to his best? He was back to his best on the weekend. So not a lesser light, but
All Australian this year, you reckon? Lock him in?
Absolutely, yeah. It was just great to see. I love when players go through some hardship and then get back to their talent or get back to the performances we know them for. So along with that underrated backline, Iden, Buckley, two real stars back there, aren't they?
Who's your favourite forwards in the comp at the moment?
I like Jesse Hogan. I love Jesse Hogan for his accuracy. He's fantastic. So I thought Harry Mackay did a good job last year. I think that was tremendous. That was really courageous. He copped a lot of flack for his goal kicking and standing up under pressure. I thought he was fantastic, especially when he goes into the ruck, a bit like Joe Danaher did. I think that was really good for his game. And I love Josh Tracy over in Fremantle.
He's one of our favourites here. What's his name?
He's a ripper, isn't he?
Jake Tracy.
Yeah,
we love him.
The boy from Kahuna.
Big Kahuna.
Big Kahuna. He's got big Kahunas too, I reckon. So he has a crack.
What about Giants team, just quickly, like Hogan, Stringer, still out. There's a few more sort of that can be back in the team as well. Like
Tom Green.
Tom Green, that's it. Yeah,
they put Tom Green in that midfield. They're going to be hard to stop, aren't they? Like really, Brisbane v GWS midfield.
Yeah.
Boy, that's an all-timer. And then you throw Hawthorn into that mix as well. So,
and the D's. And then you got Maxi Gawn and Petrarca Oliver.
Well, and they're going to be an interesting watch. I'm doing that game on Sunday. I'm looking forward to GWS Melbourne at the MCG 320, which is a bit of a tricky time if you love your Grand Prix. It's about the same time as the GP. What are you boys doing? Are you doing footy or GP?
Thursday nights for me this year. I'm wrapped Carlton Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
That could be an all-time.
Yeah, it might be a bit flat, that one. But looking forward to that Melbourne GWS game.
What about your old mate Fly on the weekend with Kingers on the bench? What do you reckon about that? Do you like it in the game or you think it has to be stamped out?
No, I love the character. Mate, it's great. If your coach is going to be down there, there's going to be... But I'll tell you what, it was pretty passive, wasn't it?
God, he didn't do much.
And obviously they've...
Big Kano saying 20K fine.
Oh, Kano, jeez, he's gone hard, hasn't he?
Big Rui's like, this is your worst take of the year.
Already. Well, he's always going to come off the long run.
Yeah,
a bit of
he
show back to style.
as well, Australia. You knew that was going to happen.
When there's only two games, you didn't want to have a bad performance, even if you are Nick Dacos. So he was going to be off the long run, Cornsey. But Kenny and the players went at it, but it's a bit of theatre, isn't it? You know, like, can you ever see coaches punching on? I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know, we always want to relate it back to junior footy and all that. Well, yeah, what Adam Kingsley and Craig McRae did on the weekend was nothing. Absolutely.
They would have coached together at Richmond, the Kingers and Fly, wouldn't they, before Fly went across?
Absolutely.
So they know each other, and it's just like, hang on a second.
He's a beauty, though, Adam Kingsley,
and
obviously I know Craig McRae. You know, Craig McRae, he's one of the great team men, and it didn't surprise me when he went in to coach that premiership. The first day of pre-season, the year after he retired, he knew the boys were always flat. First day of pre-season, we always used to do the same run. Craig Starcevich was our fitness coach. He's been a tremendous coach for the women's team at the Brisbane Lions, won premierships, but he was our fitness coach during the premiership era. And he used to do the same sessions, you know, for the whole pre-season, year on year.
Yeah.
So we knew exactly what we'd do. We knew the exact route that we'd run, and Fly knew this as well. So Fly rang me on the way to training and said, mate, can you just let me know when you boys are about to leave? Okay, so we had our little training session at Cooperoo. Go back inside, put your runners on. So I quickly turned my phone on, rang Fly, said, mate, we're about to leave. Didn't know what was going on. So anyway, we started running. We had to do like a 7 or 8K run. About 30 of us, the whole team. We're flat as flat as pancakes after being on the drink and pizzas all off season. And we get down the road and we see this bloke sitting there in the old sort of deck chair. He's got a terry toweling beach hat on. He's got the singlet, shorts on, and he's got his feet up on an esky with a can in his hand. And as we get closer, what the fuck's going on here? Who's this bloke? Just sitting on the side of the road. Go past, that's Fly. It's Craig McCrae. G'day, boys. How are you? Great to see you. How's the pre-season going? Oh, mate, it was just magnificent. The boys just pissed himself laughing. But that just shows you Fly. Yeah, that was his sort of character. He was always the leader of our social dues, and he was our cultural leader. Even in retirement, 6 months later, he could have been off holidaying in Europe or doing whatever, but he still took the time to go and sit on the side of the road. He reckons because we were running late, we're running about an hour
been
late.
there for a while.
He'd had a few cans, so he had to ring his missus to come and pick him up. Two rippers, Adam Kingsley and Craig McCrae.
Speaking of pre-season, we were chatting with a few coaches the other day, with Sam Mitchell, Dean Cox, all the boys, and they were talking about their toughest pre-season camp they've ever done.
Yeah.
Anything stand out for you? So Starcevich, by the way, he was a player, now fitness, and now he's a coach as well. So he did.
Well, he's a premiership player at Collingwood. Then I think he was part of the Nathan Buckley trade.
Yeah.
When Bucks was playing the Brisbane Bears. I think it might have been Stars and Troy Lehman.
Yeah.
Went from Collingwood to Brisbane, so a couple of blasts from the past there. And then he, when he retired, he became the fitness coach. Obviously, Leigh Matthews took over and Leigh coached him that premiership at Collingwood. So he was a fantastic fitness coach. And then he left for a period of time and sort of got more into coaching. He's obviously been a highly successful coach with the women's team at the Lions. So, but Stars, credit to him. I think they identified that Robert Walls had really pushed those boys hard, like Vossi, Lepper, Lappins, the Scots, Darryl White. That core group that Robert Walls had when we were young blokes, Wallsy smashed them.
Yeah, apparently he was pretty...
brutal, but Wallsy taught him to be tough. It was survival of the fittest. So I think when Stars and the medical staff at the Brisbane Lions came in with Leigh Matthews, I think they identified with this group, well, hang on, this group, they're tough.
Yeah.
They've been hammered. Now we've got to look after them. Now we've just got to keep them fit and keep them healthy. So, and that coincided with me coming in. So, we trained hard, but we didn't get smashed. Certainly not on army camps and all those sorts of things. But you did some hard pre-seasons with with humidity. It was up there. Yeah. A couple of sessions, I'd lose 5 or 6 kilos in sessions, which is unbelievable. Yeah. So really hard.
I've lost 5 or 6 today.
You have, haven't you? Yeah. Nothing that really springs to mind. We did Kokoda, and 2006 we did Kokoda, and a lot of the boys got crook. I think half's got bloody dysentery. So Bo McDonald lost 10 kilos. Now, Bo didn't have 10 kilos to lose. So that was probably the hardest, I reckon. Yeah, we did that in 4 or 5 days.
Heard a few stories about Robert Walls' camp, because my old man had him towards the end of his career at Carlton, and just said that some of this, they were borderline, just not even good. Just like
no drinks,
circle up. You're not leaving the circle till you like 2 guys just in the middle, just
with
going
bloodshed.
Bad.
Well, the boys used to. I think a few. Wallsy'd run them in Melbourne. If they'd had a bad loss, they'd have to run around the city in Melbourne before they flew home. And a couple of the boys told stories that they hadn't brought their runners, and so they had to wear their going out shoes or their black suit shoes, and they'd be running around the streets of Melbourne in their black shoes. And I remember, Maxie Kennedy, who's in partnership with Dean Simon, that gym we go to, Dyl. Salt Gym's magnificent, but Maxie Kennedy played nearly 200 games, big tough centre-half back for the Brisbane Bears.
Shaved nugget.
Shaved nugget. Maxie, he was a beauty, and he could throw him. He was there. He was one of the boys that went against Shane Stremple. Remember the story about Shane Stremple was he was a player of the Brisbane Bears, and Wolsey wasn't happy with his discipline, so Wolsey made him get in against about 10 or 12 boys and had to do a boxing round each with them.
Each.
And I think he ended up with a cracked jaw at the end of it. So imagine doing that in these days. Imagine you get to train, you're running late, and Sam Mitchell says, right, boys, circle up. Dude, you're going to go 10, 12 rounds against 10 or 12 of your teammates to get the shit punched out of you. So different era.
We used to do that.
We used to do that too. My first year we did it. One of the boys genuinely got completely knocked out, and there was this a pro boxer coming, and it was like all the first year players, and we had to rotate with him. So he wasn't knocking us out or anything like that. But if you got him a good one, like he'd be giving you back. Then Andrew Walker jumped in, who could he could throw him, and would beat the living shit out of us. But it was just how it was. Like it wasn't in a malicious way. It was like that's how you did it. Yeah.
We did a lot of boxing. We did a lot of boxing in the day, but I don't think
it's great fitness.
You don't do it much anymore
because someone zigged when they should have zagged.
It was Mitch Lewis.
Yeah, down at Hawthorn. And now it's just all
ruined
paintwork.
it for everyone, you reckon?
Yeah, and they were. You'd dread it because you'd end up like I'd go up. You know, we both know Matty Richardson. Richo, our boy.
Is he a good boxer, was he?
No.
No, I was going to say, geez, that would have really surprised me.
But he'd hold you with his left and then just throw this big arm in right. That and he just...
Who could throw him in the tights?
Yeah. Tucky was elite. Big Ray Hall. Remember Ray? You would have played on Ray Hall. Yeah, he was really good. Andy Cracker was probably one of the best.
Yeah. All the brothers were fantastic.
Chris Aaron was an amazing fighter.
Just so quick.
He's Scotland as well.
He's Scotland,
Dave Allard.
You knew you'd pick on your weaker targets. You go the blokes who you knew couldn't, and you just sort of dance around it. So I'd try and get Brownie. Me and Brownie, Nate Brown would try and fight it because we'd throw powder puffs at each other.
Yeah,
who was throwing it at Brizzy?
Well, Matty Kennedy was the best. Matty had a fight against. He actually knocked out Spud Carroll, rugby league. Spud Carroll, they had an NRL versus AFL thing years ago. It might have been 2001, and. I think we got beaten 4-1, the AFL boys, but Maxie was the AFL man that beat Spud Carroll. He knocked him out. So I did a lot of work with Maxie. He was I played with Maxie, and then he was our fitness coach of the Brisbane Lions after Stars. And so I did this sort of thing where I always thought that, and it helped staff the legs, but we used to build up every pre-season to build up to 12 rounds of hard sparring, 12 3-minute rounds, and that was sort of my litmus test. At the end of the pre-season, I would know I'm ready to go. I'll go 12 threes against Maxi, full contact, and you used to have to do 10 burpees at the end of each round. You know, and I thought if I can survive that, I'm ready for a campaign of the season. Huge. And so that was just my little thing and my goal. And Maxi could hit with the best of them, don't worry. I reckon I felt like his fist went through my diaphragm one day. I'll never forget it. But he could go. You wouldn't mind him in a dark alleyway with you if you got in a blur. Yeah.
Brandog, we could sit here forever, mate, and talk stories. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. Hey, thanks, Brownie's podcast as well. Where can we find it?
Brownie's podcast, what's the tagline you say?
Wherever you listen to your
Wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll make sure the link's in the show notes.
It's on Nova. It's on the Nova podcast network as well, but, you know, everyone knows where to get their podcast from. So Brownie's podcast, back with Campbell Brown. We've lost Dino.
Yeah, where's he gone?
Well, Dino's gone to Pang tonight.
Oh.
Sam Pang tonight starts next Monday. So Pang's got him over as the full-time writer, creator behind the scene. He's a busy boy. So
but with Brownie's podcast, is it your podcast and Brownie's on it, or is it Brownie's as in like the brand,
two Brownies?
Well, it's two.
Or do you say it's yours and he's on it?
Well, technically it's mine, but it's Brownie's podcast because it's the two Browns, isn't it? So Brownie holds it together for us. I just go along, but I don't think he's that happy with the little apostrophe in there, which means singular, not
it's
plural.
Yeah. He knows that.
He keeps at me. Can we get rid of that apostrophe? But no, it's good. Brownie's podcast, good. We're going to get you on.
Yeah, I'd love to. We'll get the boys on and we'll have a chat.
In our commissioner suit and recruiter suit, just before the Carlton Draft.
I'll tell you what, I'm fucking wrapped. We didn't wear the suits this morning because I wouldn't have been well.
You'd be a puddle on the
ground. Guys, make sure you head to the Carlton Draft as well if you want to sign your team up. But this episode has been thanks to our good mates at Carlton Dry, the official beer of the AFL. Brandog, you're a star, mate, and we'll best of luck for the rest of the year.
Thanks, dude.
Easy.